Danny, do you use Portfolio EV?
Yep.
Cool. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Tell me when we hit. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry for the tardiness. Not my fault. How many times do I have to say that? Now, we had a data issue. Wanted to make sure that we got the data up for you, so we're good to go. It is the final. I'm going to say this throughout every final show that we have up until Sunday, and we get the Super Bowl. But final single lineup strategy show of the season. Appreciate you guys being with us all year. Welcome back. We're going to build some lineups. Now, Ben and I built some yesterday on the First Look show. Check that out because we got some good bets in as well. And really, you kind of walked through the process, laid the foundation for a slate that has massive, massive prize pools across essentially every site. But today, we now have ownership. We have projections, right? We have the Sims. Full disclosure here. I ran the Sims. Jordan ran the Sims. We'll throw them on the screen. We'll have the Sim strategy show, the tournament show on Friday as well to really get a little bit more granular. But to get an idea of what exposures look like at captain, at flex, what ownership looks like, because that's going to be important. And of course, Danny Burke joining me. First show we've ever done together, filling in for Greg Ehrenberg. Greg Ehrenberg had to go see the doctor. Routine. He's okay. We hope. He should be. Anyway, Danny, what's going on, man? Excited to do this.
Yeah, happy to be here, Dave. And I know it's kind of funny. I'm filling in for Greg on a lot of these shows, and people are starting to get suspicious with the whole Terry Rozier allegation. So,
yeah.
Look, Greg's doing fine, everybody. But no, I'm pumped to be doing this and looking forward to the big game.
I didn't think about that. Right. Greg just disappears like 2 days after the Terry Rozier scandal.
Right. Terry still gets to play, but Greg's got a dip. I don't know. It's weird how it works that way.
Yeah, Trump sent him to Guantanamo. He sent him to the El Salvadorian max security prison. Him and Bukele out there having a few words. But no, looking forward to this. Jordan, let me just fix my camera. I'll have you crop me on the fly. It's driving me nuts the way it's set up right now. Okay, so just work with me here. There, now we're back. All right. So here's what we'll do. If you're new to the show, that would be odd since it's week like 21 or 22 of the season. We're going to build some lineups out with the single lineup sim. It gives us instant feedback on all of these lineups. Why is that important? Because it's simming them against the field, right? So we're creating contest pools and then running, tens of thousands of sims, which we do with the Sims, obviously. But in this case, it's very similar. You're seeing what the simulated ROI is. It gives you instant feedback, lets you know, hey, you're on the right track, you are on the wrong track, or this lineup looks great. And for a slate like this, with so many high-priced players, from Barkley to Hurts, Mahomes, Brown, Kelsey, Worthy, even down to like some of these mid-range guys and Kareem Hunt, Devontae Smith, a lot of different ways to skin a cat with a slate like this. These teams faced each other 2 years ago. It was 38-35, and you had touchdowns from Mecole Hardman or Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. So Chiefs do weird stuff. We're going to see if we can do some weird stuff and actually figure out whether or not it works. So you ready to get into this, man?
I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And as always, if you don't mind, guys, take a single second, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It's free, helps us feed atone for your sins. You know how it goes. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what type of build you're getting into today and going into this slate. Let's do it. I will say, ran the Sims. I know you ran it as well. Surprised me a little bit to see that my highest exposed captain was Patrick Mahomes. Not shocked that it's not Barkley given the exorbitant price point, but yeah, man, like Jalen Hurts, I'm not getting a ton of Jalen Hurts at captain where I'm getting a lot more Mahomes and then Barkley, Kelsey, Worthy, and Goddard.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that I'm getting the same here, obviously, with Mahomes having just run the simulation with the exposure based on the ownership. I mean, 33% exposure on the sim that I ran with Patrick Mahomes. And look, we could go on and on about what Mahomes is or what he hasn't been this year, but at the end of the day, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So it's not going to shock anybody to see him getting a lot of love in this simulation. With that being said, Dave, I don't know if I personally agree with that assessment. I mean, obviously, we got to look at this from just a full game standpoint. And yes, there's going to be a ton of different variations that we go through with our lineups. But just from a macro standpoint, when I look at this game, And you're seeing this reflected in the betting market as well, and certainly curious your thoughts. But this total opened around 50. We've now seen it dip a little bit to 48 in the hook. I lean toward this being a bit of a lower scoring affair. Now, that doesn't mean that I would just neglect Patrick Mahomes in a captain spot. Obviously, someone's got to take the reins there. But I just, based on what we've seen this season and knowing the defense that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are going up against. Yes, I'm going to have him there pretty frequently, but I just don't know if it warrants almost double the exposure based on the ownership that we're seeing. So again, I don't directly fall in line with that, but I see the path there, of course, but I could see a little bit more value elsewhere aside from Mahomes.
I don't disagree. I like Mahomes a lot at flex though,
Right.
because you're not paying a premium on any of these pass catchers for Kansas City. Even Travis Kelce, sure, he's coming off a, lackluster performance against the Bills in the championship game, but Worthy's not particularly expensive. This guy, for a rookie in an Andy Reid offense, the last month of the season, he was spectacular. And it continued throughout the postseason. Then you've got guys like Hollywood Brown who have some of that, potential to have big plays. We saw a couple just missed opportunities in the postseason, but they were there. I like Mahomes a little bit better at flex. The one thing I'd say about this, and Danny, this is like such a lukewarm take. I've said it already this week. I'm riding the fence here, and I'm not taking a stand on the total. This just feels like one of those games to me that could be 2017 or 40-38. Like I don't have a good read on the total because you're talking about like the unstoppable force against the movable object where yes, Philly's secondary been very good, but you still have two starting rookies back there. Look, Quintanamo Bay, right? The guy's been fantastic, but you have no Nakobe Dean. Bond's been awesome. Jalen Carter's a game wrecker, but at the same time, like Patrick Mahomes is a magic man. Like the guy, all he's done throughout the entirety of his career against stellar defenses has been find ways to negate those defenses. So, and you know what? Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, let's not shit on Steve Spagnuolo's defense either. They're excellent. Right. They've been very good. So I could see this being a low scoring game, but I'm not playing showdown lineups with that specifically in mind. If you're in the betting market, that's one thing. You can just not bet the total, or you bet it one way or the other. Sure, you want to bet an alt, whatever. But in an instance like this, I'm going to try and cover all of my bases in a spot like this. It wouldn't shock me if Mahomes has the 300-yard, 3-touchdown game.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. And you're right. I mean, we've seen in the past, especially with this Kansas City Chiefs team, where you feel like you have one idea with how the tempo of their game is going to go, and then it's the complete opposite. I mean, again, as we saw these teams face a couple of years ago, was an absolute shootout. And I agree with that. I mean, it does feel like it's going to be a pretty comfortable under throughout a majority of the game, or you're just going to get this to comfortably go over. And I think a lot of that will occur in the second half as well. Sure, you get these first drives that are scripted, and that's when the Chiefs can thrive, and that's when the Eagles can really hone on Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts in the run game. But if the Eagles end up trailing, then you're going to have to start throwing the ball, right? Then you're going to have to force Hurts into potentially more uncomfortable situations than what he and the entire team has been accustomed to all year long when their backs are against the wall. So I think that's when you can see a big shift is in the second half of this game, just from a pure betting perspective. But yeah, Dave, I mean, again, clearly with all the weapons that we have, despite how good these defenses are, you're really going to want to cover all these areas. And it seems like a lot of that coverage is going to Mahomes, but yeah, personally, I may be knocking him down just a wee bit, but again, we still got plenty of time before we get the kickoff, but just my early thoughts, I'd be a little bit lower on Mahomes than our projections have him in the captain spot as of this moment.
I hear you. And also these will be refined throughout the week. There's no doubt about that. You could be spot on though. It could be a low scoring game because these are two offenses that are perfectly fine methodically moving the ball downfield. Like they don't need the explosive. Yes, you have the Barkley explosive plays, right? And Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, fine, Xavier Worthy, those type of guys. But Kansas City's built differently. Like there's a totally different complexion than there was before. So, or composition of this team. So let's do it. Let's build some lineups out. And if you guys have any ideas, hit us with them. Jordan, we'll go large field we might have to go 25% to first in this one because it might even be more. Like, what's the, let me see. Actually, I didn't even realize that. It's 20% to first for the Millie. It's a five, and the big DraftKings is
Yeah.
20% to first. I like that. All right, let's do 20% to first. Large contest, Jordan. And Danny, as the honorary guest, who do you want to start with at captain?
All right, I'm gonna go since I was kind of, a little bit anti-Mahomes there. I'll go a little different, and I won't go with Saquon Barkley, the obvious chalk choice there. But let's start with Dallas Goedert here. And the reason why I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert, and it's not like I'm saying anything groundbreaking, but clearly he's been one of the more reliable receivers for this Eagles team. And you look at Kansas City, is great as their defense has been, Dave. And we know what Spagnuolo's been able to create on that side of the ball. Where they've had their flaws is against the tight ends this season. I think they're allowing about 6 receptions, 70 receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends. And that was one of the flaws that you saw happen last week. The Buffalo Bills didn't really utilize Knox or Kincaid. Sure, Kincaid had that chance with that catch toward the end of the game, but before that, they didn't really utilize them. And a lot of times prior during the season, opposing teams that have done that have done fairly well, at least enough to pad those stats offensively. So I like Goedert here. I think he could be a solid bang for your buck as someone in the captain spot, and a little bit outside of the box to start with. Nothing too crazy, though.
I'm all about it. Plus, I mean, Kincaid was playing like 45% of snaps throughout the whole postseason anyway. He's that Goedert, if it's not a blowout, you're getting you're probably getting a 95% snap rate from Dallas Goedert in this game. Yeah. He's also massively improved blocking downfield on some of these Barkley runs. So he's not really the same liability that we had seen in the past. Let's do it. I think that opens up a lot. What's his Jordan, feel free to switch back and forth with ownership too. Like what's his ownership at captain? It can't be that high. We have 6.7% in this sim that I ran. Projected or in the projection, projected captain ownership. So go Goedert. With that in mind, I am going to throw Hurts into the flex here.
I like it.
And let's see, do we have any, when I ran the sims, I want to see if there's any Goedert captain lineups. Because if there are, I would think, let's see. Here's one. And yeah, Jalen Hurts is in it. I won't tell you the rest because I don't want us to just fully cheat here. But I was curious to see if we had any Goedert in the flex, and we are a captain, and we do. And those lineups sim out pretty nice. So where do you want to go next?
So now I would kind of venture, obviously, to the side of Kansas City here in terms of a receiver. And I think I would want to go between Hollywood Brown, even though we may not have to get to him quite yet. But I think that's someone we may need to add in there at some point. Or then you're kind of choosing between your Xavier Worthy and your Travis Kelce. And I like Worthy. I mean, you're getting a cheaper price here, and Kelce has been relatively underwhelming all year. And I know he comes alive in the postseason. I get the narrative for him here and everything leading up into this game. But again, we talk about these defenses against tight ends, and Philadelphia has not only been one of the best, if not the best defense in the entire league, but also one of the best against opposing tight ends. So you have more of a dynamic with Xavier Worthy, speed, obviously, but he can also kill you rushing the ball, which they've implemented that a lot with him. So I think you just get a lot more outs with Xavier Worthy and a lot more potential, and at a cheaper price than Travis Kelce. So I would look at someone like Worthy potentially here.
Let's do it. Let's go Worthy. And for what it's worth, I'm fine with any of these pass catchers for Kansas City here. Be it Kelce, Hollywood Brown, Worthy, all of them are fine to me. Let's throw Hollywood Brown in here, and then I'm going to, let's make a non-Barkley lineup. Let's just see what it looks like. Because I think you can still make the sim out okay. If you see this, if you're leaning like lower scoring game, what's your feel for kickers then? Because you're getting them at this like obviously discounted price compared to the rest of any skill players, like notable skill players. Where do you side on kickers in a dome with two defenses that have been pretty solid in the red zone?
Yeah, I'm pretty high here on the kickers. I am personally not high on Jake Elliott because he's just been kind of a nightmare and very inconsistent the past year for sure, and a little bit even into last season. I kind of have this weird personal vendetta with Jake Elliott every time he misses. My friends and I will talk about it because one time he missed some kick last year and just screwed me on a bet. So I have this, personal vendetta against him, as a lot of us bettors tend to do with certain players. But like you said, you are in a dome here, and Jake Elliott, if he does get on his spot, if he does get in a rhythm, then he has a lot of value here because the Eagles are going to be able to move the ball pretty frequently. Kansas City's defense good enough to stop him in the red zone. Both pretty solid red zone defenses. Philadelphia 48% in terms of defensive red zone efficiency. KC's at about 53%. I would maybe still give a little bit more love to Harrison Butker just because he's a bit more reliable. You're only paying $200 more on DraftKings. And at the end of the day, I'm putting more stock into Patrick Mahomes moving the ball at will than I am with Jalen Hurts. Punching it into the red zone, maybe you give a tad bit more nod to the Eagles because you have Barkley, because you have Jalen Hurts and what they can do with the tush push. But Philadelphia having the better defense, and Kansas City with, again, not that as much dominance on the front of their offensive lines, I think you may get more action from Harrison Butker. But, I'm not really going to go too crazy. And if you told me you're going the other way, but I do like the kickers with the slight lean toward Butker in this matchup.
Let's try it. Here's what I want to do. Let's try it. And then I'm going to plug Kelsey in. We're going to leave 1,500 on the table, Jordan. After we do that, what I'd like to do is remove Butker and Kelsey, and then just try some two-man pairings there. Like, go ahead and run that. Like, you could do Butker, AJ Brown as well. That'll leave some salary, but it's still doable. And then another play that you could make is if you took Butker out, do we get positively? Hold on, that's not right because I just ran it and it's a totally different. That's No, Brown, Mahomes, Bucker, Kelsey. Yeah. Um, like I wonder what it looks like, Danny, and we'll run this. If you were to take Bucker out, take Kelsey out. I ran it with Brown too. It was like 19%. And then found a way to play Barkley with this lineup and then punted the last position with $3,500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see.
I don't know if it'll work, but it would get you to like a Noah Gray. There's a few guys it would get you to, which would give you Goddard, Hurts, Brown, Mahomes, Barkley, and Gray. But then I guess the question is, how do you feel about, I mean, I don't really have a problem with the Hurts Barkley lineups, but I feel like doing that, I might want one of those guys at captain.
Yeah, it feels, I mean, again, the primary scoring threats out of Philadelphia realistically are going to be one of those two guys. So it seems like you're wasting a spot if you don't have one of those guys in the captain position, unless you just think it's going to be an onslaught from somebody on Kansas City. And then you can keep both of them in the flex, and it is going to be a very high scoring game. But otherwise, I would agree. I think you got to have one of them in the captain position for the most part if you're going to have both in your lineup here.
What do you feel about like 5-1? 5-1 Eagles is tough from a pricing perspective, but like the 4-2 Philly isn't crazy. I guess what I'm getting at here, the question is Kansas City is the type of team that could score 30 points, but it's so spread out that if it's super concentrated on the Philadelphia side, which we've seen that be the case. Like if you look at the prop, it's 8.5. So over or under 8.5 players to catch a pass in Kansas City, and then 5.5 for Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's a scary thing about Kansas City because, again, you don't know who's going to be that primary dude. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins has been practically non-existent this entire postseason and at times during the regular season, but he could very well come alive in this situation. Hollywood Brown, we saw a great effort out of him in the last game. Prior to that, he had nothing. Juju Smith-Schuster, who the hell knows when he's going to get involved? And then with Travis Kelce, the threat all year has been, okay, what is Noah Gray going to do? What kind of impact is he going to have? Watson. So you're right. I mean, maybe you could, what would you do? Just narrow it down to like a Patrick Mahomes on their side then, and then go all Philadelphia? Or who would be the top guy to signal out from Kansas City? Because if it's going to be spread out, I mean, certainly you would want to get some of the action with Mahomes if you're thinking he's going to throw a lot, or even if you think maybe Kareem Hunt, if the, again, you're in a position where Kansas City has the lead. And yes, even though they're spreading it out, you still could get a lot more action from Kareem Hunt specifically in the red zone, at least with the first couple attempts. So he kind of makes a compelling case as well.
Yeah, he does. And the only disappointing thing there is that I'm still unsure of Isaiah Pacheco's role. I'd be lying to you if I told you like, oh no, Kareem Hunt, he's going to outtouch him 2-1. I don't know. Like now you've had 2 more weeks to rest for Pacheco. I mentioned earlier in the postseason, I don't think he was 100% healthy to begin with. Like, what if it's just a full out split? What if Pacheco sees a slight edge in touches and opportunities? That's the only thing that drives me nuts here. And it's against a good run defense in Philly too, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and you know how interchangeable the running back position is in general and how quick someone can get banged up, and you can't predict certainly for injuries, but Pacheco, like you said, does not look 100%. He's been very inefficient, and I get the hesitation. I get being timid with being fully invested on Kareem Hunt over Pacheco. But man, I mean, you just look at what these guys have done throughout the playoffs. And unless we're completely missing something, or unless, yes, he's gotten a lot healthier in the 2 weeks they've been off, I don't see how you get Pacheco more reps than Kareem Hunt. But it's the NFL, and whoever the hot hand is, and if he is healthy, they'll quickly change. It's the freaking Super Bowl, man. I mean, whatever it takes to win. So you could easily see Kareem Hunt just get stuffed at the line the first couple of handoffs, and Pacheco provides that spark, and it's a completely different strategy for this team. So that is pretty terrifying. But the gut feeling is Kareem Hunt, but of course we're not going to know for sure. So definitely don't want to be too exposed with the Kansas City backfield, but again, it wouldn't shock me to see one of those guys go off at the end of the day.
I'm with you though. You still have to give the nod to Kareem Hunt here.
Yeah.
Plus the price point isn't all that much different. Jordan, if we were to build something where you keep Goddard and Hurts, and let's see, keep Butker, keep Mahomes, so we'd have Goddard, Hurts, Mahomes, and Butker. Danny, that gives us 8,000 per player remaining. Now you could do some interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to play Barkley, you could. There isn't much great value down there if you were to do that. And then beyond him, it's like Brown, Kelce, Worthy, Devonta Smith. I genuinely wonder if the move here is just to go like Devonta Smith plus Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I kind of like the Devonta Smith angle. That's actually what I was going to ask you a little bit later on, what you were feeling between Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, because all things that we've seen this postseason, Devonta Smith has been the more consistent receiver. Obviously, you're getting a better price. Now, if you're getting the AJ Brown of last week, that's a completely different story, but you can't just blindly bank on that coming to fruition back-to-back games. Devonta Smith got more red zone targets throughout the regular season too. So, I like the angle here with Devonta.
Yeah, at this price, I'm all about it. I will say, there you go. Okay, 44.5% SIMD ROI. We'll take that. That looks good. I will say with AJ Brown, heading into that game against Washington, he spoke to the media and he had said, look, I wasn't feeling right. Because remember, he was dealing with like multiple ailments leading up to that game. He's like, I'm feeling way better. This is actually one of those instances where I think it showed. Rewind the game pass up before that, the LA game, the snow and there, I mean, they were calling it hail. It wasn't hail, it was sleet. But you know, you can't blame the Southern players for mixing up hail and sleet. You had a ton of sleet coming down, coated the field. I think we could refer to it as a wintry mix. And as a guy from the Midwest, you know what that's about. It was bad. And Brown, who hadn't dropped a pass all season, dropped one on a crucial third down, and then dropped one that would have been like a 45-yard reception at the goal line, which he never drops.
True.
And then he goes, I'm feeling better. And then you have 2 weeks. So I still think A.J. Brown is the alpha in this passing game, especially now that we're 3 weeks removed from that game against the Rams. But it's 7,400. A great polished route runner who's also a deep threat in Devontae Smith. I still think it's just fantastic value.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, clearly, yeah, A.J. Brown is the guy at the end of the day that you're really going to want to put stock in. But when you're looking at these salaries and who can separate you from the rest of the crowd, it seems like it's got to be Devontae Smith. And recency bias is the thing as well. A lot of people probably going to be honing in on A.J. Brown, thinking he's right back to that rhythm. And you do make good points. You're right. I mean, that was a unique game. It was a tough environment, and, you know, a lot of things did not go in his favor. But then you also got to wonder from, you know, the Kansas City defensive perspective as well. Priority number one certainly is containing Saquon Barkley. And then after that, it's who's the next biggest playmaker. I think you would argue it's okay limiting Jalen Hurts from scrambling himself and then finding the deep threat in A.J. Brown. But I have enough confidence in this Kansas City secondary to where they can limit him efficiently to where I really don't want to have too much exposure on A.J. Brown. Look, I'm not going to completely ignore him or just evade him, but I just think Devontae Smith provides the much more appealing case here, especially because of that price. And I'm with you in your assessment between the two, but Devontae Smith is going to be interesting to see how our Sims like him, and especially how often he's going to come in the captain position.
I think one of the reasons we won't see a ton of him is strictly because he is sandwiched in between A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert.
Right.
And the Dallas Goedert price to me is just not right. Like, I mean, I think, I'm not saying Dallas Goedert should be 8K, but I think Dallas Goedert is probably underpriced given the role that we've seen from him this postseason and the fact that he's going to be on the field the entirety of the game. So let's try this. Why don't we let's build a Barkley captain lineup to see how difficult things are and what we get kind of forced into. Because if we build a Barkley lineup and we go, man, all of these Barkley lineups look ugly as hell, then maybe we make some pivots. So let's plug Barkley in and then tell me where you want to go from here.
All right. With Barkley as captain, quarterback, I mean, I'd certainly gravitate toward Mahomes over Hurts. I think that's a natural assumption here. So I would probably put in Mahomes as my next pick.
Okay. Barkley, Mahomes. I mean, the truth is, if you tried to play Jalen Hurts here, you're putting yourself in a difficult position.
Yeah.
Like, this is when you end up going down to the Grant Calcaterras or the Justin Watson type of players and just praying. But I don't know. Given the way that these teams are, I will have some Justin Watson lineups for sure. I have to. If you're playing a large field tournament with like how many entries are in this? Oh, okay, only 300,000. 300,000 entries. How are you not playing at least some of these to get those type of like outlier performances that aren't all that unusual for Kansas? Like Noah Gray had back-to-back games with 2 touchdowns this season.
Kansas City's the perfect team to have this with, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to want to do this in general, but yeah, Kansas City's a prime example. And hell, I mean, even with the Eagles, Jahan Dotson got some action against Green Bay. I mean, it helped me win a showdown contest when I
He
had Jahan
scored,
Dotson
right?
in that game. Yeah, he got the first touchdown of the
Yeah.
game.
And then didn't
So,
have another catch, but at that point, who cares?
right. And that's all you needed. And that's very possible with all of the weaponry on Kansas City. So, yeah, you have to have some of that Watson action. I don't know if necessarily, you want some of like a Calcaterra, though he was getting a couple red zone snaps, it looked like last week against the Commanders. Now, I don't think he got targeted maybe more than once, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Watson certainly is a very plausible option throughout the huge tournament. So yeah, he's going to be across my lineups for sure.
We don't need to plug him in yet, but
No,
just,
not yet, but
just something to keep in mind here. If
you're probably going to have to put a kicker in this one at some point.
Definitely. Let's just throw Butker in now and
Yeah.
see what it gives us. 50. I think we also throw. So I think it's possible that we just go, we don't go with Jalen Hurts, but we get like a Barkley Goddard pairing. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you go Butker and Goddard, that still gives us 5,600. Now the question is, do we want to live in that lower mid-range with like Hollywood Brown and then Jake Elliott in there as well? Or do you want to get to a Travis Kelce or a Xavier Worthy and see what type of, dumpster diving we can do after that?
I kind of like living in the mid area, but I mean, I think both certainly have the opportunity of being viable. But for this one specifically, I'd probably want to live more in the middle. So I would gravitate toward like a Jake Elliott or a Hollywood Brown. I don't really love the idea. Again, I'm not that high in spending up here for Kelce, just from my standpoint and projection of what he's going to provide in this game. So I would probably look a little bit different than the Kelce route.
Let's try both.
Yeah.
Let's go, Jordan. Go with Jake Elliott. Okay, if you go Jake Elliott and Danny, I'll let you close this one out because I have a pairing I want to try in the next one. If you go Jake Elliott there, then you have the option of Kareem Hunt, Hollywood Brown, or Isaiah Pacheco. And I think it's pretty clearly between the first two, right?
Yeah, I would give the edge to Kareem Hunt here again, because this could clearly turn into a game or easily turn into a game rather where, Hollywood Brown, because of the volatility of this receiving core, could just be a non-factor. But Kareem, you at least know you're going to get some action, especially in the red zone, barring something crazy happening. So yeah, let's throw Kareem in there.
Okay. Does it bother you that we have a naked Mahomes essentially? It doesn't bother me all that much.
No, not too much. Again, I think Mahomes is really the unique case to where you could feel a bit better about having him in this type of situation. Just
I'm with you.
Alone here.
There you go. 107. Okay. See, we're making progress here. I ran the one with Brown instead of Hunt, and it was 53. So the Kareem Hunt one in a large field, 20% to first, makes a lot of sense. I will say, too, looking at this as a Barkley captain lineup, this does not feel chalky at all.
No, because you got the both kickers in there, and like you said, you got Mahomes by himself in the flex position too. So, yeah, I feel good about that one. I like that one a lot. I think a lot of it is going to end up coming down to this Kansas City backfield, right? Who's going to be the guy to really push through, and are they going to have enough of an impact to even warrant that being a top lineup? Man, I mean, it's going to be fun as hell to watch. It's going to be nerve-wracking for all of us at the same time.
As an Eagles fan, it's all everything. The whole night's going to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Porzingis in chat said Mecole Hardman was in the solo Millie winner last year. Yeah.
Jeez.
And I think Sky Moore 2 years ago, didn't Sky Moore he had a touchdown, and I think he had a crucial 2-point conversion. I think he played a pretty crucial role as well. Steven asked, are both kickers positive ROI? They are. I know it's gross, Steven, but when you really think about this, especially like we had a question from Jake DeWitt earlier that I thought was really interesting. And I don't know really the answer to this, but he said, how much public juice from casuals do you guys consider in projecting ownership? I'd have to talk to our data team. but it is tough because DraftKings made the pricing for casuals as well. You guys have been with us all year. Like you've seen some of the pricing in these showdown slates. I'm talking like random Sunday, Monday, Thursday games. It's been very difficult. This one's very easy. Like this one's very easy to build lineups that you feel pretty damn good about. So it's hard to say, but I can tell you this much. I don't think the casuals, I don't think the public who are just like, oh, I'll play some showdown lineups on DraftKings. I don't think you're going to see many double kicker lineups from them, even with Barkley at captain.
Mm-mm. Yeah, me neither. I mean, no one wants to root for kickers to get more points in general, and with a higher total and the two top teams, yeah, that's not your initial thought process. So, yeah, I think I am going to be fairly heavy on both kickers throughout a lot of my lineups in this game, and now watch it just be a blowout, and it's going to be extra points all day long. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I at least at the very minimum feel pretty strong about Harrison Butker at the end of the day. Because again, I told you my little personal thoughts here with your boy Jake Elliott, but hoping he proves me wrong. I am rooting for your Eagles because they were the one team that I did put a Super Bowl future on before the year, got them at 14-1.
Nice.
I am gonna hedge with Kansas City here, but I'm gonna, still root for my pre-flop Super Bowl future to come through. And now we're doing the show together. I got to root for my guy as well. So I'm hoping your Eagles can overcome the Chiefs this time around, my friend.
Appreciate it. Did you hedge already?
I did not yet because the line's been moving down a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So I saw minus 115 on the money line at Caesars in my neck of the woods for Kansas City. So I'm not going to be shocked to see that come down to that standard minus 110. I don't know if it'll get below that, maybe at best minus 105, but I'd still be content with the standard minus 110 big on Kansas City. And I think we may get that. So obviously I'm not going to wait right until kickoff, but I think we may get it probably by at least early Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I bet Philly at plus 116 on FanDuel when it dropped, and it's at plus 102. So Kansas City minus 120. So yeah, it's getting close. Even the 1.5 is now at minus 115 Philly. So I don't know. You could be right. You get the minus 110, and then what? It closes. What do you think? It moves to 1. Kansas City minus 1 here.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to end up closing there, but I do think it'll touch there. I think once it gets to that point, and if we get that a majority across the market, then it's going to come right back toward Kansas City.
You're probably right. So essentially, just wait for a good time.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to bet the Eagles and you haven't yet, I think, like you said, I would wait on the Eagles as well, because right now you're probably getting them at the worst number.
100%.
All right, Jordan, do me a favor. Go back to the Sims and just take out Worthy and take out the last two guys that we have in there and put in Worthy and Gray. So we go from a balanced approach to a kind of star scrubs duo here with an 8K and a $2,800 guy, which gets you Mahomes, Butker, Worthy, and Gray for Kansas City, and then Barkley I think this will sim well.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay. 99. So pretty much the same as the other one. Looks like there's plenty of different variations that we can make work here for sure. Yeah. Ken, do the Eagles push instead of Elliott field goal attempts, points, or chance? No, they won't. I mean, well, it depends. Yeah, if it's 4th and 1, it doesn't matter if Elliott's having the best season of a kicker ever. They're still going to go for it on 4th and 1.
Right.
Yeah. So if the question is, do they push? It depends what the down and distance is. Philly is going for it if it's like 4th and short, Danny. I think we've seen that all season and last season as well.
Yeah, that is the scary part about really getting involved with Jake Elliott, and especially in this environment. And if you are thinking that the Chiefs are going to have that advantage, Kansas City defense a little bit worse off than Philadelphia. Yeah, this is the time where you gotta utilize Saquon or Jalen Hurts with the tush push. So that is a good point. I mean, again, that's probably going to take away some Elliott opportunities.
Yeah, but I mean, if the Chiefs are 4th and 1, you don't think they're going for it too?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Like
I mean, yeah, the Chiefs are going to be aggressive all throughout. I could see Philadelphia maybe being a little hesitant at first if you're more so right before the 50-yard line. I think Kansas City will go for. I mean, it's kind of one of those cliches, right? When you're looking at this game and based on what the team should do. If, say, you're betting against Kansas City and it's 4th and 1 with Kansas City with the ball. Everybody who's betting against Kansas City is going punt it, punt it, punt it. That should signal that you shouldn't punt it, and the right decision is to go for it, right? So,
yeah.
in a lot of those spots when you get Patrick Mahomes with like 4th and 3 and, or shorter than that, you're hoping and praying they punt, but usually the better decision is to go for it for them.
Steven said, I heard someone say DraftKings has a prop on number of different players to have a rushing attempt at 7.5. They do. I looked at it earlier this week. Are you insinuating that you should grab the over or the under there? Because it definitely sounds like you're saying there's a right side of that. I'll say, I think it's exactly where it should be, because you've got Hurts and Mahomes, or Hurts and Barkley. That's a guaranteed 2. Mahomes is a guaranteed 3. You're going to see at least one rush attempt from him. 4 and 5 is Pacheco and Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you factor in, is it going to be one of Gainwell or Shipley? Even if Gainwell's out, Shipley at least gets 1 to spell Barkley. That's 6. And then you start getting in, Danny, this is the weird territory. Like the Xavier Worthies. Dallas Goedert has rushing attempts, like 2 last game. And it's the Super Bowl. So I really
Smith
thought
too, right? He gets some of those swing routes every now and then, right?
Who?
Devontae Smith.
Yes.
Haven't the Eagles utilized him, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. To me, I look at something there and I go, it feels like the under 7.5 makes sense, but how comfortable are you with something like that?
Yeah, I think it's set perfectly. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's that much of an edge there. But if you have to do it for like your prop sheets and everything, and you're forced to pick it, I think, I mean, it comes down to Philadelphia. You're going to get that unique player like a Devontae Smith to run the ball. And I don't know. I mean, I could see Philadelphia not trying to go too crazy, since you have your trust certainly in Saquon and Jalen running the ball more. So, and you'll get one presumably out of, like you said, Shipley and or Gainwell. So, man, yeah,
it's right where it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Big time. If you guys are ever interested in betting props that aren't where they should be, which is exactly what we're looking for every single day, and well over 100 of them that you can get down on the daily. You guys already know. Odd Shopper, baby. Portfolio EV. This is wild because I've been working the past couple hours and I haven't gotten any bets in while I have. I still have, Danny, 71 bets in already, and it is 10:52 Eastern time. So when you look at these screenshots of the people that just annihilated the sports books, and I hate using that term because it's like the capper, like we're killing the books, but this actually is happening with a straight top-down market-based approach. Look at this. And these guys, look, a lot of these guys, myself included, I don't know how to originate hockey bets. I've never tried. I don't know how to originate WNBA bets. I've never tried, and I can assure you I never will. A lot of these guys wouldn't know, and this is no knock on them, how to originate these bets. And if you did, how long does it take? Right? How long does it take to find, you know, Danny, you originate a lot of bets. How long does it take to find 8 bets you really like each day? This is, even if you are coming up with your own stuff, there's no better way to supplement it, to build your bankroll. And I'll tell you this, to buoy DFS losses on tough stretches, these guys are killing it. We've all had success with Portfolio EV. I place every bet straight from my phone with the mass entry tool. And guess what? With this Super Bowl promo, 75% off. So your first month, well under $1 a day, less than $25 for the entirety of the month. Whether you're starting with a $50,000 bankroll or a $150 bankroll, it doesn't matter. You will build your bankroll with these tools if you get volume down, turn notifications on, and just make the bets. You use Portfolio. I haven't done shows with you, but I know you use the tool. You told me before the show.
Oh, yeah, without question. I mean, I've been having the best NBA season of my life using Portfolio EV. And it's, if I'm not even blindly taking it, which again, that's the whole idea of it. But even if you don't want to, it at the very minimum gives you suggestions for props that, again, you're not going to have the time to invest to look that deep to find those type of edges and really give yourself set up perfectly in the market and see where some of the sharp attention is going toward the books that are getting exposed. And I think you brought up a really good example as well. Like during the summer, WNBA, again, I'm someone just not paying attention whatsoever, never really going to invest to get involved because we got our thoughts elsewhere for the most part of baseball, football, everything else. You can just blindly turn it on, see a lot of WNBA bets, don't even have to know anything, sets it up right there for you in your bet slip. And it had a great year. And I did really well in WNBA. It was incredible just telling my friends, yeah, I'm crushing the WNBA right now. How the hell are you crushing the WNBA?
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you just use this portfolio. Yeah, it's literally as easy as you could imagine. And again, kind of like you mentioned too, I mean, as corny and cliches it sounds to crush the books, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So I can't recommend it enough. And it's by far helped me have the best betting year of my life.
Absolutely, man. Me too. Check it out. Links down there. If you ever have questions, hit me up, by the way. DMs are always open. Hit Danny up in Discord. Anybody, hit us up. Happy to help you out. But use SB75 when you check out. That's the promo. Just use that link, click and then type SB75 in the promo. You get your entirety of the month, 75% off, less than $25. Just promise me you'll do three things. You'll be on as many books as you can, right? Because you're trying to extract as much value from these books as possible, and that's the way to do it. So you're always finding every discrepancy across every book for every sport. Get as many bets down as possible. Download the app, use the mass entry tool, do it on your desktop, whatever you want, and then turn notifications on. So you always are being constantly reminded that there's bets available. And use the bet tracker too to track all of your results. Awesome tool. We'd love to have you guys check it out. Everyone that's tried it has hit me up in the DMs and loved it because, well, it's hard not to love something when you're winning money. So check it out, man. We'll see you guys over there. Let's build one more before we go. We went Barkley captain. We went Goddard captain. What are you thinking to close this one out?
I mean, I'll leave it up to you, but I'll kind of narrow it down a little bit. I mean, obviously, we're getting a lot of exposure to Mahomes in the captain spots. We could go with that, considering that our Sims are getting a lot of exposure on Mahomes. Or I would go a little bit more so outside of the box, like a Hollywood Brown type or a Xavier Worthy type of player. So I would kind of narrow it down into that realm. What are you thinking out of that?
Sure. Okay. Let's go. Let's try Xavier Worthy captain. Why not?
Okay.
I would have been fine with anybody in that range you just gave out. But Xavier Worthy and Mahomes is where I would start. So Mahomes at flex.
Mm-hmm.
And then feel free to play this however you want. If you want to try a 5-1, if you want to go back to kickers, fine. If you want to go more balanced, fine by me. Try and get Barkley in there at flex. I mean, that seems to make, we haven't actually made a lineup with Barkley at flex yet.
I think we could squeeze Barkley in here. That's where I would go next. I think we can do it.
I definitely think we can. Like, let's go Barkley. And then if I put Elliott in, that still gives us 5,600. Okay. Oh, man. Man, it gives you Hollywood Brown and Dallas Goedert. Make the play here, though. I mean, I've done this show 1,000 times. I'm happy taking a passenger seat role here.
All right, let's try Goddard. Let's throw Goddard in there.
All right. So wait, are we going with Elliott and then Goddard?
Or
do you want to pull Elliott?
Actually, yeah, let's pull Elliott. Let's keep Goddard in there.
Okay.
All right. All right, we could throw in. So who do you have right now? We got Worthy, Mahomes, Barkley, Goddard, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think naturally somebody like Hollywood Brown makes a lot of sense here.
We could arguably spend up a little bit with Devontae and then get like your Noah Gray in there too.
I don't think that's crazy. All right, let's do another 2v2. Let's try that. So Worthy, Mahomes, Barkley, Devontae, Noah Gray, and Goddard, right?
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay. So not bad. It's
Yeah,
not
not
as good as
terrible.
the last ones we did, but I
Right.
don't hate it at all.
So maybe instead you could, because we had Elliott originally, right? So maybe throw someone like Elliott in there instead of Devontae.
Yeah, so what I did, and I don't know how chalky this is going to be, obviously, because it zeroes out the lineup, and that always concerns me. But it was Elliott and Hollywood Brown.
Okay.
But it zeroes it out. It's Worthy, Mahomes, Barkley, Goddard, Elliott, and Hollywood Brown. It looks nice on paper, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad.
60%. Yeah, not bad. Hey, Danny, where can everybody find you? I mean, you have the Tails subscription. You guys have been on a heater. I keep seeing your notifications that you're sweeping on a bunch of these nights.
Yeah, on Twitter at Danny Burke 5, best place for all of the constant action there. But in terms of tails, yeah, you can use promo code Burke50, Burke50. You get half off your first week or first month with the tails package. So right there in the insiders package page, everything listed out for you. And yeah, NBA's been great. Again, a big help with portfolio EV, but especially now, even more so as NFL is dwindling down, we're going to keep getting bigger and bigger with our NBA bets, and baseball right around the corner. One of my favorite bets, or sports rather, to handicap and throw bets on as well. So yeah, it's a great time to hop in, and hopefully we can get you some winners along the way.
Absolutely. Let's close it out with this. We had a question from Einsteinium. What's up, brother? Good to see you as always. Do you think a Hurts +3 pass catchers is viable fading Barkley? Yes, but I honestly still prefer Hurts with Barkley. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just trying to think of how it works with Hurts +3 pass catchers, like how that gets there. And I know it's a showdown. I know it's not a main slate, so you can't just use like any main slate as a proxy here. But it is very rare that you would see a Hurts +3 be optimal, I think, without Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, you're really going to have to be banking on this to essentially be a blowout, right? And the Eagles to just be passing the entire time. I just quickly ran one myself with like Hurd, Smith, Goddard, Brown, and then threw in Bucker and Hunt. And that was about -2% ROI. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, the way this Eagles team operates, it's usually going to be in sync with Hurts and Barkley getting you the production. And you just haven't seen enough from Hurts in the passing game to warrant having those three receivers in the mix. So that's probably one that I'm going to venture away from. Who knows? Anything can happen. Again, it's a unique environment. And if they do end up trailing, then he is going to be forced to throw. But it just it doesn't scream like there's a lot of value in that type of construction.
I agree. It's tough. It's tough. All right. Hey, good stuff, man. Appreciate you filling in for Greg. I'm sure we'll do this again at some point for sure.
Yeah, it was a blast. Appreciate you having me on, and hopefully everybody can enjoy the Super Bowl and get some winners, man. I'm looking forward to it, and the rest of the shows you guys got going on this week.
Yeah, man. Oh, Jordan, before we go, I forgot, throw it up on the screen. Ben convinced me to get back into playing PJ DFS and use the Sims. We got the waste management coming up, massive prize pools. So for you guys, little 50% off action, WMPO when you check out. So the link's down there, you'll see it. Same thing with Portfolio EV, right? So 50% off all PGA DFS, whether you're watching live after the fact, whatever it may be. We got you covered. WMPO. 50% off. You want to do a week, a month, any package, doesn't matter. Sim, single lineup sim, you name it. Projections, ownership, all of our data, top golfers tool, all of that included. And yeah, so I'm in. He convinced me. Let's make it happen. A little PGA action tomorrow. If you want to dive in and get the best tools out there, 50% off, whatever you want. WMPO at checkout with that link. Guys, we'll see you back here Friday. And appreciate you hanging out as always. Peace.